You wake up and the world feels gray. Not tragic, not catastrophic, just dull. You move through the day like a ghost in your own life, surrounded by noise but untouched by meaning. You scroll, you reply, you smile, you nod, but inside there's a silence so loud it drowns everything else. And you wonder, am I broken? No, you're not broken. You're disconnected. Disconnected from your soul, your purpose, your essence. Carl Jung once said, depression is not necessarily pathological. It often foreshadows a renewal of the personality or a burst of creative activity. What if your sadness isn't a malfunction but a message? A signal from the deepest parts of you crying out for reconnection. In our modern world, we've traded depth for convenience. We've replaced genuine connection with digital interactions. We've silenced our inner voices to fit into molds that were never meant for us. But the soul doesn't forget. It waits patiently until the day you're ready to return. Return to the parts of you that you've neglected. Return to the dreams you've buried. Return to the truths you've silenced. This journey isn't about fixing yourself. It's about finding yourself, peeling back the layers of expectation, obligation, and pretense, and rediscovering the raw, unfiltered essence of who you are. It's in this rediscovery that the fog begins to lift, not because the world changes, but because you do. You start to see beauty in the mundane. You find joy in simplicity. You feel connected, not because of external validation, but because you're aligned with your inner truth. This is not a destination. It's a continuous journey, a commitment to stay connected, to listen, to feel, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because in that discomfort lies growth. In that silence lies wisdom. In that reconnection lies healing. So, if you feel lost, numb, or empty, know this. You're not alone, and you're not broken. You're on the path back to yourself. And that is the most courageous journey of all. Welcome home. And what does it mean to come home to yourself? It means waking up without needing to escape. It means being able to sit in your own silence and not flinch. It means looking in the mirror and seeing not a brand, not a persona, not a mask, but a human being. A soul in process. A soul that remembers, because underneath the numbness, the scrolling, the distractions, the endless obligations, there is a flicker, a memory, not from your childhood. From before that, something older, something ancestral, a knowing that you were made for more. Not more in the sense of accumulation, more stuff, more praise, more recognition, but more in the sense of realness, more presence, more purpose, more connection. But modern life cuts those threads, not maliciously, mechanically. It's a system, and you're a gear. And if you stop spinning, you think everything will fall apart. But the truth is, the only thing falling apart is the lie. The lie that you are only as valuable as what you produce. The lie that your worth depends on how liked, followed, or admired you are. The lie that staying busy is the same as staying alive. It's not. You can be booked and busy and dead inside. You can be successful on paper and feel like a stranger to yourself. You can have everything and still feel nothing, because what you're missing is not outside you. It's within. You've lost touch with your own soul. And no pill, no paycheck, no praise can substitute for that. That ache you feel, that heaviness, that exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, it's spiritual, it's existential, it's sacred, And it's asking you to stop running, to stop numbing, to stop pretending, and to begin remembering. Remember who you were before the world taught you to doubt yourself. Remember what lit you up before algorithms told you what to chase. Remember how it felt to feel everything without shame, without filters, without fear. Because healing doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the return to your breath, the return to your values, the return to your own voice, the voice you buried to fit in, the voice you silenced to be liked, the voice that says, this isn't it. There's more, not more to consume, more to become, and that becoming is not a performance. It's not for show. It's not for the timeline. It's for you. It's the quiet, rebellious act of reclaiming your own humanity in a world that profits off your disconnection from it. So no, you're not depressed. You're disconnected. And every tear, every breakdown, every moment of despair is not your failure. It's your signal, a sacred one, a necessary one, a doorway. And when you finally walk through that door, not as a brand, not as a product, but as a soul, you don't just begin to feel again. You begin to live. And when you begin to live, not just survive, not just exist, but live, the world looks different. Not because the chaos disappears, but because your relationship to it changes. You stop craving escape, because now you're anchored. You stop begging for clarity from outside sources, because you've remembered how to listen within. The disconnection that once made you numb now becomes your compass. It shows you where to rewire, where to breathe deeper, where to begin again. And it won't be instant. This is not a quick fix, a 10-step hack, a self-help slogan. This is a reawakening, a remembering, a rerouting into what is real. You will have to face the noise. You will have to detox from the addiction to urgency. You will have to grieve not just people, but versions of yourself that were built on survival, not truth. But in that grief, there is grace. Because every time you shed what's false, you get closer to what's true. Every time you sit in silence without needing to fill it, you reclaim your power. Every time you say no to what disconnects you, the fake conversations, the empty goals, the shallow validation, you say yes to life. Not the life they sold you, not the life you chased to feel worthy, but the life that was always waiting underneath the noise. And it's quieter than you imagined, but it's deeper than you dreamed. It doesn't sparkle on the outside, but it glows from the inside. It's the life where your emotions aren't problems, they're signals. Where your sadness isn't a flaw, it's a doorway. Where your breakdown isn't a failure, it's your awakening. And when you awaken, truly awaken, you become dangerous. Not to others, but to the system that kept you asleep. You no longer buy what they sell. You no longer chase what they dangle. You no longer sacrifice your soul for the illusion of success because you've touched something sacred. And once you do, you can't unknow it. You become a lighthouse in a fog of distraction. A reminder that yes, we are in a sick society, but you are not the sickness. You are the medicine. Not for all, not for many, but for yourself. And when you begin to heal yourself, to reconnect, to root, to feel again, you don't just reclaim your life. You inspire others to remember theirs. Not by preaching, not by persuading, just by being real in a world built on masks. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. You don't need to be liked. You need to be alive. You don't need to be more. You need to remember you were always enough when you were connected to who you truly are. And now you know. So the only question left is, will you return? Will you return to the body that you abandoned when the world taught you to ignore its signals? To the voice you silenced when approval became more important than authenticity? To the rhythm of your own being after years of marching to a beat that wasn't yours? This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about unbecoming everything that isn't you. The roles, the masks, the expectations, they serve their purpose to protect you, to help you survive, to help you fit in a world that rewards disconnection. But you're not here to fit in anymore. You're here to wake up. And waking up doesn't mean running away from the world. It means seeing the world clearly and choosing to live differently within it. Rooted, centered, uncompromisingly human. You will walk slower now, but see more. You will speak less, but mean more. You will stop reacting and start responding from presence, from clarity, from truth. And people will notice. They won't know what it is at first. Just something about you. You're lighter, but stronger. You're softer, but more unshakable. You're quieter, but your presence roars. Because that's what happens when you reconnect. You stop performing, you stop chasing, you stop leaking your life force trying to be something you're not. You start creating, you start embodying, you start leading, not with force, but with alignment. And alignment is rare in this world, because most are still at war with themselves. Most are still trying to heal their emptiness with more doing, more noise, more performance. But not you. Not anymore. You've seen the truth. You've heard the signal. You stood in the fire of your own disconnection and didn't run from it. You let it break you. You let it burn you. You let it purify everything false. And now what remains is real. Now what lives in you is yours. So no, you're not depressed. You're not broken. You're not too sensitive or too tired or too lost. You are awakening. And that is no small thing. That is sacred. Because in a world that's asleep at the wheel, the one who dares to feel, the one who dares to pause, the one who dares to remember is already free. And freedom, true freedom, is not loud. It does not look like rebellion from the outside. It looks like stillness, like quiet strength, like saying no when the world expects yes, like walking away from what no longer serves your soul, not with anger, but with clarity. Because now you know the cost of pretending. You felt the weight of a life built on performance. You've lived the numbness that comes from being everything to everyone and nothing to yourself. So you won't go back. You can't. You've outgrown the shell they told you was safety. You've cracked the surface, and beneath it, you've found substance. Not the kind you can post, not the kind you can sell, but the kind that grounds you when the storm hits, the kind that whispers, "You're home," even when everything outside is chaos. Because you've built a home inside now, inside your body, inside your truth, inside your own soul. And that home can't be taken. It can't be broken by a bad day or by a judgmental glance or by the world's constant screaming to be more, do more, earn more. You don't need more. You need deeper, deeper rest, deeper presence, deeper meaning, deeper connection, not to others first, but to yourself. Because when you are connected to yourself, everything else becomes clear. You stop asking for direction from those who are lost. You stop outsourcing your worth to strangers. You stop negotiating your boundaries in exchange for belonging. You become a quiet storm, a grounded flame, a soul that doesn't have all the answers but doesn't need to. Because you've remembered how to listen to the body, to the moment, to the subtle sacred voice that only speaks when you slow down long enough to hear it. And that voice, your voice, it doesn't lead you astray. It leads you home. So no, you're not sick. You're not lost. You're not failing. It's just coming back. Back to presence. Back to purpose. Back to yourself. And the ones who've walked this path, they will recognize you by your stillness, by your softness, by your strength. Not the kind that resists, but the kind that allows. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that endures. Not the kind that performs, but the kind that is. You don't need to explain it. You just need to live it. And in doing so, you'll become a light. Not because you shine, but because you no longer hide. And that light, it won't come from perfection. It won't come from always knowing the right thing to say or doing everything flawlessly. It will come from your realness, from your honesty, from your refusal to pretend you're anything other than fully, vulnerably, fiercely human. Because in a world addicted to the mask, truth becomes medicine. Not the kind that tastes sweet, the kind that stings at first, the kind that shakes people, the kind that cracks open cages. You won't need to convert anyone. You won't need to prove anything. Just your presence aligned, grounded, whole, will be enough to remind others what they forgot. That it's safe to stop performing. That it's okay to feel what hurts. That silence is not the enemy. That the return is possible even now, especially now, because there is a quiet revolution rising, not in the headlines, not on the timelines, but in the souls of people like you, people who've burned out, broken down, hit the wall, and decided no more. No more betraying the body to meet deadlines. No more silencing the soul to be liked. No more squeezing into identities that were never theirs to carry. They are done. And maybe so are you. Done pretending. Done pushing. Done calling this disconnection normal. You are not here to be productive. You are here to be present. You are not here to conform. You are here to remember. And you are not here to live half asleep. You are here to wake the world by first waking yourself. So let this be your moment. Not the loud kind, the quiet, holy kind, the kind that happens in your chest when you realize you are not too sensitive. You are not too broken. You are not behind. You are returning. And in that return, you reclaim not just your life, but your light, your rhythm, your reason. So breathe. You're not depressed. You're reconnecting. And the most sacred journey has already begun within you. You may feel the resistance rise. It always does when truth gets too close. Your mind will whisper, go back, be safe, don't change, stay the same. But you are not here to stay the same. You are not here to remain untouched by the fire. You are here to be forged by it. Because what you've called depression wasn't the end. It was the invitation. The breakdown wasn't your failure. It was your soul pulling the emergency brake, screaming, you cannot keep living this lie. And finally, you listened. Not because you wanted to, but because you had no choice. Because pretending was suffocating you. Because hiding was killing your aliveness. And now, as you rise, not in ego, but in essence, you realize something they never told you. Coming back to yourself is harder than pretending. But it's also worth it, because this return, this sacred, brutal, beautiful return, will ask everything of you. It will ask for your grief. It will ask for your rage. It will ask for your honesty. It will ask for your courage to become someone no one else may recognize. But you will. And for the first time in years, maybe decades, you will recognize yourself too. In the softness behind your eyes, in the steadiness of your breath, in the integrity of how you walk, how you speak, how you move through the world now, unhurried, unshaken, unapologetically here. This is the return, not to who you used to be, but to who you actually are, beneath the weight, beneath the noise, beneath the lie. And what you find here isn't empty. It isn't broken. It isn't weak. It's sacred. It's the part of you that was never lost, only buried. And now uncovered, unmasked, unleashed. And the world, this loud, aching, addicted world, I won't know what to do with someone who no longer needs to be fixed. But that's not your burden anymore. You are not here to be understood. You are here to embody truth. Because when you do, you become living proof that wholeness is possible. And in that wholeness, you are finally free. And freedom, true inner unshakable freedom, doesn't mean life gets easier. It means you get clearer. You begin to see where before you were blind, to the ways you contorted yourself just to belong, to the agreements you made with fear, dressed up as logic, to the cages you built with your own hands, thinking they would keep you safe. But now you see the bars. Now you feel the walls. And now you choose to walk through them. Because that's the final threshold, realizing you were never truly trapped, only convinced you were. And the moment you stop convincing yourself to stay small, your real life begins. Not the life they sold you, not the one that looks good in photos, but the life where your soul breathes again, where you say what you mean, where you do what aligns, where you feel what's real, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how deep. And this will make you different, not better, not above, just awake. And in a culture of sleepwalkers, awakening will look like rebellion. Your peace will be provocative. Your joy will confuse them. Your boundaries will offend those who benefited from your silence. Let it, because you didn't come here to be digestible. You came here to be whole, to live a life so true, so real, so connected, that others are reminded of what they buried, just to be accepted. You came to lead, not by title, not by volume, but by embodiment. And the ones who are ready will feel it, not in your words, in your walk. They'll feel it in the way you no longer betray yourself, in the way you hold your gaze without apology, in the way you stay rooted when the storm demands your collapse. Because this is what happens when you reconnect. You become a force, not loud, not chaotic, but undeniable. Because there is nothing more powerful than a person who has come home to themselves. They don't seek approval. They don't need validation. They are not here to be chosen. They choose. They choose life. They choose truth. They choose presence over performance, purpose over perfection, soul over safety. And in doing so, they become free. And so do you. So here you are, not fixed, not finished, but finally real. You walked through the numbness. You sat in the silence. You stood face to face with the ache the world told you to hide. And you didn't run. You didn't fold. You remembered. You remembered that your sadness was never weakness, it was your compass. That your disconnection was not a flaw, it was the soul's cry for truth. That what you call depression was your body demanding you come back to life. And you did. Not by chasing more, not by fixing the outside, but by returning to what was always there, buried, waiting, sacred. You, the real you, the unmasked you, the one who feels deeply, the one who no longer negotiates her essence for acceptance, the one who walks slowly, breathes deeply, and lives fully, because there's nothing left to prove. This is not an ending. It's an arrival to yourself, to presence, to wholeness. So let the world keep spinning. Let the noise keep screaming. Let others keep reaching for what will never fill them. You are no longer chasing. You are home. And this quiet, grounded, soul-filled return is the most powerful thing you will ever do. So here you are, not fixed, not finished, but finally real. You walked through the numbness. You sat in the silence. You stood face to face with the ache the world told you to hide. And you didn't run. You didn't fold. You remembered. You remembered that your sadness was never weakness, it was your compass. That your disconnection was not a flaw, it was the soul's cry for truth. That what you called depression was your body demanding you come back to life. And you did. Not by chasing more, not by fixing the outside, but by returning to what was always there, buried, waiting, sacred. You, the real you, the unmasked you, the one who feels deeply, the one who no longer negotiates her essence for acceptance, the one who walks slowly, breathes deeply, and lives fully because there is nothing left to prove. This is not an ending. It's an arrival to yourself, to presence, to wholeness. So let the world keep spinning. Let the noise keep screaming. Let others keep reaching for what will never fill them. You are no longer chasing. You are home. And this quiet, grounded, soul-filled return is the most powerful thing you will ever do. Because happiness, at its core, is not a constant state, but a dynamic interplay of emotions, experiences, and perceptions. Carl Jung emphasized that true happiness arises from living authentically and embracing the full spectrum of human emotions. He believed that happiness is not merely the absence of suffering, but the result of engaging with life's challenges and finding meaning in them. In today's society, there's a pervasive belief that we must always strive to be happy, often leading to the suppression of negative emotions. This phenomenon, known as toxic positivity, can be detrimental as it invalidates genuine feelings and experiences. Moreover, the concept of the hedonic treadmill suggests that individuals quickly return to a baseline level of happiness regardless of positive or negative events. This adaptation can make sustained happiness elusive, as people continually seek new sources of pleasure without lasting fulfillment. Jung's perspective encourages us to confront and integrate our shadow selves, the parts of our psyche we often avoid. By acknowledging and understanding these aspects, we can achieve a more profound and enduring sense of happiness, ultimately embracing the totality of our experiences, both joyful and painful, allows for genuine personal growth and a deeper appreciation of life's complexities. Because here's the truth most never dare to speak. Happiness, real happiness, the kind that doesn't wear a mask, doesn't perform for approval, doesn't shrink to be safe. That kind of happiness feels terrifying. Why? Because it costs something. It costs the identity you built from pain. It costs the story you've told yourself about who you are. when no one ever stayed, when nothing ever worked, when the world always took more than it gave. And suddenly, you're happy, but your nervous system doesn't trust it. Your body flinches at the softness. Your mind prepares for the storm. Because suffering became familiar, chaos became home. Disappointment became your default setting. And now peace feels suspicious. You sit in the sunlight, but your soul is waiting for the sky to fall. This is the wound no one talks about. Not just the fear of losing happiness, but the belief that you never deserved it in the first place. So when it finally comes, the love that sees you, the rest you never knew you needed, the joy that doesn't demand performance, you sabotage it. Not because you don't want it, but because some part of you still clings to the story that says you are only worthy when you're hurting. And so you push it away, that moment of ease, that relationship that feels too kind, that opportunity that doesn't require you to bleed for it. Because deep down, there's a whisper. If I let the sin, I'll lose it. If I relax, it'll all disappear. It's not happiness you fear. It's the vulnerability of having something to lose. The raw, unguarded place inside you that doesn't know how to receive without earning. And Carl Jung would say, that's your shadow talking. The part of you that was forged in survival, not in peace. The part of you that learned to armor your joy before it had a chance to breathe. Because somewhere along the way, you were taught that safety came from control, from anticipating disappointment, from mastering every outcome before it arrives. But happiness doesn't work like that. It isn't predictable. It isn't neat. It doesn't follow your rules. It asks you to surrender, to be open, to feel it all without knowing if it will stay. And that kind of surrender feels like death to the ego that was built on vigilance. But here's the truth. Jung left for us, you do not find wholeness by chasing light alone. You find it by embracing every part of you, including the one that's afraid of joy. Because only when you embrace the part of you that flinches at joy, that mistrusts peace, that waits for love to disappear, only then can you free it. Not by force, not by pretending, but by inviting it into the light. Sitting with it like an old friend, not a flaw, asking it, when did you first learn happiness was dangerous? When did you first associate joy with loss? What would it mean to feel safe and still be free? Because underneath your discomfort with happiness is not a broken heart. It's a guarded one. A heart that remembers, a heart that still holds the imprint of the time you laughed and were punished, the time you let go and were left behind, the time you finally felt safe and the ground gave way beneath you. So now, even the possibility of joy feels like a setup. And yet, there is a deeper intelligence in you that knows you are not that child anymore. You are not that wounded version of you waiting for the next betrayal. You are here now with power, with choice, with the ability to stay open even when your past screams close. Because happiness is not the absence of fear. It's the bravery to feel it. And still let the light in, letting the light in, even when your hands shake, even when the voice of your trauma whispers, this won't last, don't trust it. Even when every cell in your body wants to run, to ruin it before it can be taken from you. Because this is what it means to heal. Not to erase your fear of happiness, but to walk with it, hand in hand, into the warmth anyway. To stay, to breathe, to receive. Because happiness isn't something you conquer. It's something you allow. And that's what makes it so uncomfortable. It's vulnerable. It's soft. It asks you to stop performing, to stop controlling, to stop armoring up for pain that isn't here yet. It asks you to rest, to trust, to surrender. And for someone who spent their life surviving, that can feel like drowning. But you're not drowning now. You're relearning how to float. You're remembering what it feels like to live from joy, not just as a moment, but as a state of being that doesn't demand justification. You're remembering that you are allowed to be okay, that you don't owe the world your suffering. To prove your depth, that peace isn't a lie. It's a birthright. But to claim it, you must be willing to stop bracing for its end. Because the moment you stop bracing, you begin living. Not in the shallow sense of pleasure or distraction, but in the deep-rooted sense of being fully here, breathing without holding back, loving without forecasting pain, receiving without guilt. You see, the true discomfort of happiness is that it demands your presence, not your perfection, not your performance, just your presence. And presence is terrifying. When your whole life has been about preparation, preparation for the worst, preparation for abandonment, preparation for disappointment that always seemed to arrive on time. But what if you stop preparing for heartbreak and started preparing for expansion? What if you stopped rehearsing your suffering and started rehearsing your joy? What if you trusted that happiness wasn't a trap, but an invitation to shed the identity you built from wounds, to unclench the fists that held grief so long? You forgot what softness felt like, to come home to yourself in a way that doesn't require pain as proof. Carl Jung said, only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life. And happiness is a paradox. It is soft and fierce, temporary and eternal, gentle and brave. To let it in is not to deny the dark. It is to declare that the light matters too. Because the light does matter, not as a denial of your shadow, but as its sacred counterpart. You are not just the sum of your wounds. You are not just the story of what broke you. You are also the laughter that rose uninvited, the stillness you felt in the middle of chaos, the breath that came easier when you finally stopped fighting everything. You are whole, not because you've eliminated your pain, but because you've stopped running from your joy. And when you stop running from joy, you stop fearing your own aliveness. You stop dimming your light just to keep other people comfortable. You stop sabotaging the softness. Because somewhere along the way, you learned it was dangerous to feel good. You stop apologizing for healing. Because healing doesn't mean you'll never hurt again. It means you'll stop expecting pain to be your home. It means you let your nervous system rest. You let your inner child exhale. You'll stop performing crisis to prove your worth. And in that space, in that sacred, terrifying, unfamiliar space of peace, you find something even more powerful than happiness. Freedom. The freedom to enjoy without suspicion. The freedom to feel without flinching. The freedom to say, yes, I am okay today. And that's enough. Not because everything is perfect, but because for once, you're not abandoning yourself to prepare for pain. You're allowing yourself to be here, to be alive, to be happy. And that is the most radical thing you could ever do. to stay in your joy, to let the warmth of a good moment soak in without reaching for the exit, to say yes to the life you've worked so hard to create, instead of subconsciously trying to burn it down, because you're more familiar with ashes than abundance. Because here's the unspoken truth. A lot of people aren't afraid to suffer. They're afraid to stop suffering. Because when you stop suffering, you lose the identity you built around pain. You lose the story that got you love. You lose the script that made you feel safe in your sadness. And you are left with something even scarier. An open sky, a blank page, a heart that beats without crisis as its rhythm. But this blankness in this vast possibility of peace, this is where your new life begins. This is where you write a new story. Not one without struggle, but one where struggle is not the main character, where happiness is no longer the twist ending. It's the baseline. It's the soil you grow from, not the prize you hope to catch. And yes, it will feel strange. Yes, it will feel unsafe at first, because it's unfamiliar. But unfamiliar isn't bad. It's just new. And if you can hold yourself through the awkwardness of joy, if you can breathe through the discomfort of peace, you will become someone who no longer sabotages the sunrise, because there's still morning the night. You'll become someone who no longer flinches at softness, someone who no longer expects the light to hurt. Because now you know it's not happiness that's uncomfortable, it's receiving it. It's letting go of the fight. It's releasing the armor. It's standing there, unguarded, and letting life be good, without demanding a reason, without expecting it to vanish. And once you can do that, once you can sit in joy, the way you've sat in sorrow, with reverence, with stillness, with presence, you become free. Not free from pain, but free from the belief that pain is your only home. And that freedom becomes the foundation of everything. Your relationships change because you no longer enter them from lack. Your purpose deepens because it's no longer driven by proving your worth. Your peace expands because you've stopped arguing with your right to have it. This is what it means to evolve, to no longer just survive the storm, but to step out from under it and to realize the sun has always been there, waiting for you to look up. So you do. You look up, you let it warm your face. And for the first time in a long time, you don't look away. You don't look away because you finally believe you're allowed to see beauty without fearing the cost. You've paid your dues in silence. You've earned your joy, not through perfection, but through presence, through staying when it would have been easier to run, through breathing when your body screamed for armor, through loving when your instincts begged you to pull back. You are not naive for being happy. You are brave. Brave for choosing peace in a world addicted to pain. Brave for embracing joy in a body trained to anticipate loss. Brave for standing still when every trauma told you to keep moving. And maybe, just maybe, you realize this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a new way of being, where happiness is not a stranger, but a companion, where you don't just taste peace in stolen moments. You build a life that holds it, protects it, honors it, not because you've escaped the dark, but because you've integrated it. And now you carry the light, not with guilt, but with grace. Because this happiness, this presence, this breath, You earned it. You allowed it. You stayed for it. And now you live it. You live it not as a reward, but as a birthright reclaimed. You live it in the quiet mornings when no alarm screams. You live it in the way your body exhales when nothing's wrong. You live it in the laugh that isn't rehearsed, in the love that doesn't demand sacrifice to be real. This is your new rebellion, to be happy and unashamed, to be peaceful and unapologetic, to be whole and unhidden, because nothing is more subversive in a world addicted to struggle than choosing softness and surviving it, thriving in it, allowing it to be enough. And it is enough, not because it's perfect, but because it's true, because it's yours, because it's no longer borrowed from others, no longer conditional, no longer held hostage by the next achievement. You no longer live on the edge of your own joy, waiting for the moment to shatter. You live in it. You trust it. You become it. Because the work is not in chasing happiness, it's in letting it stay. Let it stay, even when it feels foreign. Let it stay, even when your fear whispers that it's fragile. Let it stay, not because you've conquered the darkness, but because you've made peace with it. And in doing so, you've become someone who no longer fears the light. You carry it. You radiate it. You are it. Welcome home. Home, not as a place, but as a state of being, a place within you where happiness is no longer a stranger knocking, but a fire you've lit with your own hands, a warmth you stopped trying to earn, a silence you no longer feel with fear. And maybe for the first time in your life, you realize you are not broken for struggling to receive joy. You are human, a soul born into a world that taught you to expect loss more than love, to brace for pain more than peace, to mistake exhaustion for meaning and trauma for truth. But you've woken up from that. You remembered the part of you that was never touched by fear, the part that sings when no one's listening, that smiles without explanation, that breathes in beauty and no longer questions if it belongs to you. It does, because happiness, real happiness, isn't loud. It's not always euphoric or grand. It's often quiet, simple, ordinary, in the most extraordinary way. It's the freedom of not waiting for the other shoe to drop, the softness of being seen and not flinching, the peace of knowing you're safe now. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And that's the truth no one told you. Happiness was never meant to feel comfortable at first. It was meant to feel earned, filled, lived, and finally, kept. You've arrived, and this time, you're not leaving. You're not leaving because you've stopped running. From the silence, from the joy, from the astonishing realization that you made it. No, not to a perfect life, not to some glossy destination free of flaws, but to a space within yourself that no longer needs to be fixed in order to be worthy. You've unlearned the panic of peace. You've interrupted the generational addiction to suffering. You've rewritten the script that says happiness is a trap. Because now you know happiness isn't the lie. Fear was. Fear that told you you weren't built for joy. Fear that whispered you'd lose it if you ever touched it. Fear that kept you looping in chaos, just to feel familiar, but not anymore. Now your nervous system understands calm. Now your heart knows how to receive without calculating its expiration. Now your soul believes what it used to question, that you are allowed to be happy and stay happy, not by denying your darkness, but by dancing with it, not by erasing your past, but by no longer becoming it. And from this place, from this hard-won, so deep place of peace. You don't just live differently. You exist differently, anchored, grounded, radiant in a way that no longer seeks to prove itself. Because the truth has landed. You are safe. You are seen. You are here. And happiness, as unfamiliar as it once felt, is no longer the exception. It's your new normal. And this new normal doesn't demand fireworks. It doesn't scream to be noticed. It rests. It breathes. It hums beneath the surface of your every moment, quietly, steadily, like a heartbeat you didn't know could be trusted. This happiness is not a performance. It's not loud. It's not perfect. It's true. It shows up in the mornings when you no longer dread the day. In the mirror, when you meet your own eyes and don't look away. In conversations where you don't shrink or swell to fit. In love that doesn't hurt to hold. It's in the small, sacred moments where you no longer sabotage what feels good, just to return to what feels familiar. Because the familiar no longer owns you. The chaos doesn't call your name. The pain doesn't feel like home. The storm inside you has quieted, not because you suppressed it, but because you listened. You honored it. You healed it. And now you can be still. Now you can stay. Stay in the room where you're loved. Stay in the dream you once thought you didn't deserve. Stay in the moment that doesn't require a mask, a defense, an escape. And you finally realize happiness was never the end of the journey. It was the evidence that you've returned to yourself. And in this quiet, grounded, radiant return, you don't just survive. You belong. So now, when peace finds you, you don't flinch. You welcome it. You breathe it in like something sacred. Not something stolen. Not something fleeting, but something that has always been yours. Beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the survival you mistook for strength. Because this stillness, this joy, this unshaken breath is not a reward. It's a return to the version of you that was never afraid to feel good. The version of you that laughed freely, laughed openly, trusted life before it taught you how to brace. You are not that child anymore, but you carry that truth. And now you carry it without apology. You know happiness isn't a trick. It's a practice, a muscle, a choice. And you've chosen to stay soft, to stay present, to let the light land and remain. Because happiness is not weakness. It's courage to receive, to rest, to be okay without asking for permission. And so you walk forward, not chasing anything, just allowing everything you've already become to finally be felt, fully, freely, fearlessly. This is your new life. This is your new self. And you are no longer afraid to be happy